So yeah, we also had a little conversation about level design, but I don't know that we have time for that right now. Maybe that's the next conversation we have.
Maybe. I mean,
Maybe.
we can touch upon it at the moment.
Level design's really cool.
That's what we came up with.
Yep. Yeah, it's. I found myself very, very impressed with the level design of the new map for Ark, Lost Island, because there's plenty of little secrets, and it's really easy not to notice how you're being guided to trip upon them and actually being steered in a certain direction. And it's very smoothly done, very cunningly done.
Yes, one of the things that I've noted with certain games, so my partner and I are playing through The Last of Us at the moment, and she was getting confused, being quite new to this genre of games and gaming in general. Where do I go? Who do I follow? The great one is you're just trying to follow the person, and they're guiding you around, and the character mentions going to a gate, and so Kareen goes to the gate over there instead of the gate over there. But there was nothing to say that was the case, and the character you're walking with is really idle and slow, and sometimes they're following you, and sometimes you're following them. If you don't pick up on those cues, you get lost essentially. And then we were discussing about how if any ledge in the game often has scrape marks. It often has like little flaps of something material coming down. So you've got this visual waving. You've got a bright yellow bar essentially saying climb here, and there's the scrabbling to make it, or the scratches to show you this is the way forward. And in some ways, that's really useful because it does help guide you through the game, and it's not too intrusive.
Yeah, ideally, you want to do these things in a way that the player thinks, I want to go this way, without feeling like they're having their hand held too much.
I mean, one of the great games for just climbing all over a city was Assassin's Creed. That you can pretty much climb anything and everything. Dying Light 2's just come out, and I'm really trying to resist buying it. But the Dying Light 1 was a zombie parkour game, so you're climbing all over the city and that. And whilst it did have clues of where to go, again, it was a more subdued thing because you could pretty much climb anything and everything. It was just if it was out of your reach, you wouldn't be able to do it unless you had a perk or something along those lines. But yeah, it's interesting guiding a sort of a subtopic of level design is how to guide your player through so they don't end up frustrated. I've certainly been frustrated in the old, you've got to find the yellow key and to open the yellow door, but you've discovered the yellow door first and the yellow key's on the other side of the map. Damn.
Yeah, I always struggle with Metroidvania style games for that reason.
A big one with Doom, you know, you miss a little alleyway because everything's beige and brown. I remember getting lost with Doom for ages, and I'd be wandering around a level, and I will admit that I went into no clip mode to see where was I supposed to go. Oh, okay. Now I understand. But if it's not clear to your player, they can end up being frustrated, and if that happens really early in the game, you can have your player feeling like they're stupid. They should have been able to get that. Because one thing, I don't know if this applies to all games, but one thing the difficulty setting rarely does is change the level. It changes the difficulty of perhaps the character's health and, you know, are they bullet sponges or not? But do you know of any games?
Left 4 Dead. And I haven't played the sequel for Left 4 Dead, which is I can't remember the name of it. Just came out recently.
It's not a sequel, but yeah, Back 4 Blood.
Back 4 Blood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's spiritually a sequel. Left 4 Dead 2. Well, so Left 4 Dead would generate the levels for you, right? So the level's gonna be.
I never got around to playing it. I'd have loved to, but
very good.
Yeah,
very good. Left 4 Dead 2 had the director, which was basically a scalable difficulty. So as you're playing, it's going to measure your performance. How quickly do you go through? How much damage have you taken? How many healing kits did you have to use? How much ammo do you have? And if it's too easy, it'll ramp up the difficulty.
It will leave you less drops.
It'll just spawn a whole bunch of bosses on the map or bring in more hordes.
Nice. So that's a great example there. When we talk about level design, we're not just talking about where you place your main assets. Where's this
Mm.
corridor? And sometimes you have to split a level up for loading, or there's just too much on the screen, so you deliberately hide it behind something else for frame rate. That's been done time and time again. Half-Life always had those little sort of like corridors between areas where it could load.
Yeah, to hide a loading screen. And
Yeah.
Mass Effect had those interminable elevator rides because it had to load a huge level.
How long does the elevator ride take you? Oh, only 2 minutes. What? Why did it take me 5?
Yeah. But the end of our conversation this morning about, or this afternoon, about level design and the skill of level design, it occurred to me that it reminds me a lot of classes I took as an undergrad in lighting design and set design for theatre. Because you're doing a very similar thing. You're guiding attention, you're creating a certain feel, you're making people feel clever for noticing certain things. It's really using environment in a way that crafts an experience.
Is
And that's what good level design is for me. Like when I'm playing Ark and I'm on the Lost Island and I'm going through a tunnel and I see this little bit of smoke in the corner of my eye and I follow it down this little dark tunnel and so there's little lights and there's mushrooms over here that guide me this way and I find this, hidden cave full of treasures. I feel very clever, but actually I've been guided every step of that journey
but you've been silently guided, which is
in a way that, makes me feel like I have agency and makes me feel like
yeah.
I've done something.
So I remember talking to you about this earlier. So Dying Light 2, they've got like an E3 trailer, and then you've got the actual release game. And it's amazing how, obviously, with a trailer, you're always going to have pre-rendered scenes, or it's been done on a supercomputer, not
Yeah.
easily accessible hardware, that sort of thing. And it was amazing looking at the opening scenes compared with what they did with the trailer itself. The trailer's more cinematic, and again, it's not meant to show gameplay. It's supposed to get you excited about the game and the concepts. Once you're in the game and playing, obviously some of the prettiness is dropped down anyway, so that everybody can play, and you can turn those sliders up and down. But one of the most poignant things was I think you start off in a bathroom or something along those lines. As you walk through a door and meet one of the main characters, in the trailer, it was very cinematic, and he was lit by the room in a dark and dingy bar. But in the gameplay trailer, the dark and dingy bar remains dark and dingy, and he's lit up. So when it comes to the game itself, you can't always have it looking like a movie because the player won't know where to look. If you light up the main character and make everything else dark, you can't help but focus on the light thing on the screen. And I think that's why they've done that.
That reminds me of the Hitman series, the recent reboot, Hitman 1, 2, and 3, which are phenomenal. Like, I adore these games. But in the very first one, the very first mission, you're walking into this mansion during a party in France. There's this huge chateau-style mansion. And you get this wonderful like opening of these doors and walking through this little thing. And as you're doing that, the main target you've got to assassinate walks down the stairs into a spotlight and gives a speech. And just that highlighting of this is the important thing. This is what you need to do while you're hiding in a crowd. Like there's people around you. You see the little like stealth circle around you, and you're feeling very sneaky, and it's establishing that thing for you. And the level design in those is brilliant because the way it sort of presents all these different ways, and you feel very clever for finding these paths every time. That each thing that feels like a little secret that you've worked out. It's like, well, that was put there deliberately to sort of pull you in this direction to see what you wanted to do.